Hello, welcome back to Who's Views. As you can see, I am here with the Who-tastic panel. So good evening to Paul, to Time Muddler Brendan, to Kirsty, and to Third Doctor Ian. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
And oh, look, they're all in tune, which is good to know. And here we are with, here we are with Who's Views Reviews. Wild Blue Yonder, and I do have to keep saying I keep saying Deep Blue Sea, but that's a song. But it's Wild Blue Yonder that we're reviewing tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's nice to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're not into the chat, please come into the chat and chat with everybody that is in the chat. Lots lined up for you on the show tonight. Not just all the reviews and the views and the opinions of everybody on the panel, myself and you. But yes, stay tuned because we will be doing the ratings game. We've got scores on the TARDIS doors, and we've got an actual new bit of AI kit that has been given to me at great expense coming up during the show. So here we go then, as we sort out Wild Blue Yonder, first broadcast on BBC One and Disney Plus on the 2nd of December 2023, written by Russell T. Davis. All the details below there, and produced by, well, a lot of people, basically, which always brings to mind the saying about too many chefs. So here we go. What can we say about Wild Blue Yonder? Anybody think it was an improvement on the Star Beast?
No.
Well,
No.
All right, then, Kirsty, why not?
It didn't feel like a special. I was bored.
Oh.
It was like just an episode before the season finale. Nothing special. I've got loads of notes down. I've seen behind the scenes stuff as well. Really creative what they did for like the animatronics and the CGI. It was actually not so much complaints there, but it was just a bit how he was like, how am I going to make up these ideas? La la la, sniffing farts. Just self-indulgent. It could have done more to get us ready for next week. Maybe Donna wasn't Donna from Star Beast. Who knows? You could have done so much more. It was just a bit meh. No wonder stuff went down. Isaac Newton. What was that? It just, yeah, even more stuff. Just like, yeah, the buggered up Will. Timeless Child. What was that? Stop.
All right, well, we'll come to all that. We'll come to all that as we get the show. I don't want to. Let's not throw it all in there. Let's drag it out through all the show. Let's do it. So we're starting. Go on, Paul. Go on.
The title of the episode. It's called Wild Blue Yonder. Okay,
I felt
you heard it here first.
it felt like it was the greatest hits of RTD in one respect, as in he had a sampling, as everybody knows, from Midnight, because when he's got a character one and it's all done on the cheap, I liked Midnight, but he's done the trick again. Obviously, season 20's just come out, and I recognised an element of Terminus. We're at the end of the world, and 4 episodes dragged out a little bit. We all remember that one.
Oh, yes, we do, yes.
I think he aspired to Event Horizon. He did have Impossible Planet there. We all loved that moment. It was so sad when you saw that poor girl in Impossible Planet, and we kind of replicated that. So we had a bit of that. We had a bit of the Disney's Black Hole, and we had a touch of Underworld, of course, in how he was relating it. I just wonder whether, I think I've seen a lot of fans say this, and I think a lot of us might say it as well. I felt as though I'd heard some of the lines before, and it felt like these were RTD's touch bases. And I felt like, although I've listed lots of stories here, that this was a filler episode overall, building to the climax. And I know in the Doctor Who magazine, he says, you needed a story to really utilise David Tennant and Catherine Tate's skill. Well, I applaud that. You should. But it felt like it was just... You see, RTD, another trick he does, and he did it in Utopia and that, you know, when they're at the end of the world again, and he has David Tennant pulling levers and everything as he's talking to Jack, Barrett. It's just... There was a lot of standing, pulling levers and getting the water supply right. And we weren't going anywhere. And actually, I don't know what the water supply was all about. So to me, my big summary is RTD was touching things he'd already done before. It was in essence a filler.
Okay, let's just say hello to everybody that's in the chat here. We've got Crimpling Saloon saying, hello, shipmates. Hello, nice to see you. We've also got TARDIS Spider is here, so hello to TARDIS Spider. Woodhouse122 is saying evening all. Heather is here with hi everybody, nice to see you, thank you very much. Meddling Funk is here, hi everyone. Right, okay, we've got that. We are looking at some of the comments about Sir Isaac Newton, so I'm sure we'll get to that. Kirsty's just touched on that as well, so we're going to get to that. Heather is saying here, I'm not often scared by Doctor Who, but this episode truly disturbed me. I think the writing and the performances were perfect. Thank you for your comment there. Thank you. That's brilliant. I understand what Brandon's saying about this, because this didn't feel like anything new to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One thing that's interesting, touching what Kirsty said, it doesn't feel like an anniversary episode. It does feel a bit like this is mid-season, and Russell's kind of structured these 3 episodes like a season. So you've got the Star Beast a bit like Partners in Crime, then you've got the middle episode, this one, and then next week is the finale, and it doesn't really have that time to do that, if that makes any sense. It needs to be a bit more punchy, a bit more exciting. It seems like a wasted opportunity. I watched it again today and enjoyed it more because my expectations were kind
low.
of they were low. I enjoyed it more because I was more ramped up to get more out of it initially, but then didn't get that. But then I was trying to be not having a knee-jerk reaction to it and try and watch it in a more calmer sort of fan state of mind, which is hard to do, I'll tell you that. But
it does make sense what you're actually saying there. I've thought, obviously today, social media has again, predictably from the end of the broadcast, it's been a minefield. It's been an absolute minefield, and we are going to be dealing with some of those comments. But one that got me was this one. So I'd like to say, I thought this was quite clever. Just finished watching Doctor Who, in which the TARDIS takes our heroes to the very edge of the known universe, with extensive scenes of them running around on huge CSO sets before the story ends with a bloody big explosion. But enough about Underworld. How is Wild Blue Yonder?
No, exactly. Can I say I was brave enough again to watch the official podcast, and they were slagging off a little bit about Underworld, but believe you me, in 46 years' time, we'll be laughing at the effects in whatever it is, 2060, 69, won't it? Yeah, we'll be laughing at the effects then when it comes to 46 years from now.
Yeah, and I'll be still 29 because of pioneering efforts made by Cher. Woodhouse122 is definitely a bottle episode. I mean, I think that's what Kirsty was trying to get to as well. It felt familiar. I reckon that he was trying to do a midnight and trying to make himself look clever by doing a midnight, but it didn't come off at all, actually. Let's be honest about this. It didn't feel the same way. There were some nice elements to it. I think Tennant and Tate did work together on some of the elements, some of the scenes nicely. I agree. I think I said to you, Kirsty, that it was meh. I do agree with that. For me, it was like meh, it was on. But I think personally, I think it needed a bit more work. What about you, Ian? What was your initial reaction?
Well, I mean, aside from the Jodie Whittaker era, I've never forgotten when a Doctor Who episode was about to start. And my wife was quite happily watching Married at First Sight Australia. And it was about 15, 20 minutes after the start of the episode before I realised it had started. And she said, I'll stop. And I said, no, carry on watching it and we'll just do it on catch up. I felt that infused. And I've never forgotten an episode starting before. And I've also never really nearly nodded off. And I did, because I just thought it was boring.
Welcome to my world, Ian.
Yeah, we've got 3 episodes. You've got 3 episodes where you desperately need to drag Doctor Who up from the sewer where it existed for 5 years. And you spend one of those 3 episodes doing nothing. And it was just really, really dull. And I thought, to be honest, Tennant and Tate were they were like a parody version of how they used to be. Everything was over accentuated. You know, Donna would always do those no, but it was really loud, and it was like they were just doing a comedy skit version of themselves. I think, you know, like Lenny Henry's Doctor Who was probably more convincing than this one.
That's
was
next
in
season, Ian.
Yes, that's next season.
probably. But it was. I just thought it was crushingly disappointing. I mean, some of the effects when he was doubled over and his head was between his arse cheeks. You know, I mean, I never thought I'd ever say that about a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah.
But there we were. The head, you could tell it was a badly grafted on head, and it just didn't work. And you know, I really like. There's a comedy show, or there was a comedy show on Radio 4, and it went onto TV for 3 years, and I loved it. And it was called Count Arthur Strong. In some of his, I went to see him a couple of years ago in Harrogate. Incredibly funny, but the poster for his show was like a false perspective. So he was at the back, like welcoming his arms out, and his hands were really close to the camera, like this. So it looked like he had massive arms. So when they came out with their arms too long, I just thought of Count Arthur Strong, and I couldn't take it seriously. But
I had something similar, but I thought of Kenny Everett.
Yeah.
Well, I thought of It's a Knockout. Remember the big figures? You know, Kirsty, ask your dad about that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, Crimbling to Blue makes a nice comment here. For any children who stuck with it, they would have been rewarded with a fun thrill ride. They'd be sure to be telling their friends about and maybe playing it in the playground on Monday. I can sort of see where you're coming from on that particular one. I can. I'm not sure if they would, because I'm not sure if Doctor Who's cool anymore. To be honest, to be talking about it, I'm not even sure if the new generation of kids have actually discovered it. And because certainly the ones that are always going on and on and on on social media and banging on various drums are the ones that found it from 2005 onwards and are now in their sort of 20s and should know better. So I do know what you're saying though, but it'd be interesting to find any feedback. And actually, one of the people we can ask is Phil to see if his kids have watched it.
I was going to ask that. Yeah, well, if you got a reaction from Phil's son, but I wonder if kids are scared of this. If you saw this when you were 8 years old, would you have been scared by it? There is some imagery that is quite scary. You know, you may have been scared by it. You know, the running creatures of the Doctor and Donna and the big hand and things like that. There may have been some of that. Would have been a bit. It's a bit sort of Land of the Giants kind of thing, isn't it? Almost.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I thought there were some parts of the story which are quite good, but I think it did need a bit more work on it. And you know, that's just my opinion on this because it's always rushed, isn't it, Kirsty? It always seems to be very, very well. There's the resolution.
Yeah, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Which it shouldn't have been like that. It should have all been as a oneer. The suspense again, a water cooler moment that something was going to be connected properly instead of the last few minutes at the end to next week that we're all actually more excited about it than we are. It's more what now instead of what is now, what is coming. Just disappointing.
Kirsty, I think the point is on that is there's a pacing problem.
It is a wham bam. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're going to talk about a certain bit soon, and I won't spoil that yet. But yeah, you've got the pre-titles bit, which had a light tone. Then you went very heavy. Then you had the dramatic moment near the end with the Donna scenario, and I just think if this whole episode is about a slow countdown, a very slow countdown, and trying to work it out, which was the bulk of the episode, wasn't it? And then, as Kirsty says, right at the end, we get that classic, right, so let's run like the clappers, which was kind of, it was like playground stuff. Run after this little robot. And then actually in the end, the Doctor hadn't thought this through because actually the Doctor failed. It was just a matter of that the TARDIS amazingly just landed and then he used it as a skateboard. You know, this was all like, I was going, has this been possible before? Or is this just a very convenient... I mean, Doctor Who's always going to have one or two convenient plot devices, but he was laying them on with a right bloody, you know, they were laying up.
And then MacGuffin.
We did last week, and I know in my little review last week, I went 10 to the dozen. One was the sonic screwdriver. This week, the sonic screwdriver. Do me a blooming favour. I mean, stick it in the TARDIS and it does a reboot. Things like that, lazy writing for him to do a character episode. But the one last point I want to make before I shut my face again is he was a victim of building expectations. In the magazine, in all the speculation, it was redacted. Oh, we're going to get Susan in this. We're going to get some old doctors in this. and they built it up. And so we're all waiting that when they got to the end of the corridor, something would happen. And that, I think they created their own mess there. The episode,
well, they did. They did. They absolutely did. And the director did come out, didn't he, and say on Twitter, "Look, there's no old faces in this. There's no returning Doctors." I mean, it just shows you how some fans can be really, really stupid in my eyes.
Yeah,
you know, just enjoy it. Stop trying to make things up. And stop trying to second guess everybody else, because you get yourselves into, I mean, the tension last week from them all. I mean, they've come up. We will talk about some of the rumors later on if we get time. They were just absolutely off the wall. And it was no surprise that director Tom Kingsley, who I believe is new to Doctor Who, and did quite a nice job, I feel, with what he was given here, went on to X to say, listen, calm down, everybody. Nothing of what you're saying. It's no wonder that they allowed him to do that, because they had to, because some of these alleged fans were really getting their knickers in a twist. We've got this one here from Wild Blue Yonder seems to have rallied the fandom because the next time trailer for the Giggle currently has more views in a day than the next time trailer for Wild Blue Yonder got in a week. Well,
Yeah, but we all watch it 14 times, don't we? And then think, oh, that's very good.
Yeah. We've got Phil here actually saying that they didn't watch it. Ted was massively excited, wasn't massively excited, and neither was I. So we started watching Spearhead from Space. That's possibly a better choice, mate. Nice to see you.
Doctors.
Yeah. Medlin Funk is saying, I was going to try and watch it again today, but I just can't be bothered. And I think it will be a long, long time until I ever do. I mean, that's what we call hitting your fandom with apathy.
Can I say something? It's not the first time an episode of Doctor Who hasn't made sense, because if that was the case, Ghostlight wouldn't stand a chance. So you need to rewatch things. I felt I watched it again second time. And
I am not going to have a word said against Ghostlight, because it's perfectly clear what happens in Ghostlight. And I'm looking forward to the day when we review it. We're going to tell you all off. It's very, very simple. It's about a catalogue. Think librarian. Let's have a look here. Oh, we're going to come to this. Now, at this point, I would just like to say to everybody that's watching us in the chat, if you're in the chat, please come into the chat if you're not. If you can, that is, come into the chat and tell us your views. Because at this point, I also want to put out a little bit of a Russell, an RTD type warning from when he did that behind the scenes show last week. What's it called?
Unleashed.
Thank you.
Yep.
We don't want to trigger you in any way. We don't want to upset you in any way at all. We want to involve you, but we don't want to trigger you. We want you to tell us right now about that opening scene or anything else in the episode which may have upset you, and then myself and the Whotastic panel will address those concerns with you very, very soon.
Were all the right variations of Apple represented? That's the big issue, because I'm
really annoyed about that. It really got to me. Toddy Spider is saying, are you saying he must have gotten a box of plot devices for a birthday? I think he's had it for quite a while, to be honest, and I think he's now recycling everything. Hello, Jack. Leave your brain at the door with RTD's Docky Who. Where the hell did that expression come in, mate? My blood boils slightly this week. Docky Who? What is this? CBBC Doctor? Oh, well.
It's like party jokes.
Crimpoline is again, maybe this new era of Doctor Who will be in style more like a comic strip or cartoon rather than the TV show of old that we're all used to. Well, it shouldn't be really, because as we will come to when we're talking about the ratings, people don't like it and they have turned off. Let's have a look. Jack is saying, I think the Starbeast was the final straw for many. I can't blame them after that laughable mess. Well, yeah, I mean, goodness me. Yeah, I was watching this. I was just there. And bearing in mind, as I said last week, I haven't watched Doctor Who since the very last Peter Capaldi series. I didn't even watch his exit at Christmas, right? So it's been a long time. What's that, 6 years, 7 years? 6 years. And last year was a culture shock to me. Last week was a culture shock. And then watching this one, just going, I've sort of seen this. And do you remember last week for the Starbeast, I was saying this seemed to be like a mediocre episode from series 4.
Yeah.
Well, this one was a mediocre episode of series. And I agree with Kirsty. Why are they calling them special? What's special about them? It is just a mini series, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did anyone find, or just me, that the music drowned out half the dialogue?
I can't even remember the music, mate.
No, I can't.
Okay, right.
Well, Paul, I couldn't hear. You know, there were lots of tweets going out about those 3 words, which was the countdown.
Yeah,
I couldn't hear the words. That's what I couldn't hear. So it was lost on me because I needed David Tennant to go that whatever the word was. I still know what the blooming word.
Yeah.
And so
my wife and I put the subtitles on with that, you know. So I'm just at a funny age. That's what it is. But I missed a great gag about. Cause I watched it again today, like I said, and there's a gag about when they get in the car and Donna does a lovely Lady Penelope impersonation. You know. Thank you, Parker, and stuff like that. And they get in the car and drive off. And that was a nice little moment. But I'd lost it the first time round.
There was a lot of mumbling in it. But, but that seems to be, from some of the television I do catch
You make it
today,
in all over again.
a lot of it does seem to be a little bit mumbled these days. And I'm not quite sure why. It's as though actors can't use their voices anymore and enunciate properly, you know. Yes. Whereas we were all taught to do that, you know, to try and, you know, as Patrick Troughton used to, God love him, saying, shouting in the evening. But that's what helped, didn't it? You know, the old la 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 la.
Do you think, that one of the problems here with these specials, which the special in itself is the two actors in the end, I think, in essence, there's nothing else. But the other problem is by him thinking, oh yeah, let's have Tennant and Tate back, which did sound like a great idea, and I was all for it. Actually, it's a can of worms. It's a plot mess. And so even in the second episode, I'm thinking of the casual viewers, not the fans like Paul who said they'll watch it again and again, because you shouldn't have to watch it again, let's be honest.
No, you should.
There were loads of touches in it about Gallifrey, Flux, Timeless Children and everything. How much of the normal viewers need that to understand what the hell is going on? And that's 2 hours now where he's had to, because he wants it special with these two actors, he's had to go over loads of mess. Wouldn't it have been better, maybe, in retrospect?
Just to leave it,
We're going to swear now, was Tennant and Tate actually a good idea because of the mess it brought?
I think it was a good idea to do it. This is personally me, so everyone chip in. I think it was a good idea to do it, but I think he's actually messed it up. Now, bearing in mind that at this point, I am sort of the casual viewer because I haven't seen anything that's gone on since Capaldi's last run. Right? I don't know. I've heard from you guys and others. I've heard about the flux. I've heard about that.
You can get cream for it.
Care about that. Yeah, I'm not interested. So that whole dialogue where this came through about Gallifrey and Flux. Oh, Jesus, I can't. Sorry, I never saw it.
Flux. Yeah. So yeah.
It doesn't mean a thing to me. It doesn't mean a thing to us. But Ian, from my point of view, I'm sitting there as one of those millions of people that didn't watch that era on BBC One or anything, and I'm sitting there with the Notwees at that point, thinking, well, actually, this dialogue is just getting at the fans that didn't like this. It's doubling down on the worldwide fans that did not like those and saying, tough, as he's very good at saying. You're going to have to accept that this happened and that era happened and this has happened and the Doctor isn't a Time Lord anymore. But from my point of view, as with the Notwees, the dialogue was written in a way we don't care because we know that the Doctor has adventures and a lot of it happens when the viewer isn't there. So you sort of go with it thinking, don't understand this, and then you dismiss it. And that's what I did. I just went, don't understand this. It's obviously happened when I haven't been watching, don't care. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it's a sort of exposition, isn't it, that just alienates a lot of people. And when you do that to your general audience, your casual audience, but you're also doing it in the subtext to your regular viewers, the ones that watched it for years, the ones that followed it through the 16 years when it wasn't on, barring McGann, and then supported it when it came back. And he's just basically giving them two fingers and saying, we don't need you either. I'm doing it for the small bunch of trannies and whatever he does it for, and that's absolutely fine. That can be his audience as long as Disney is happy to fund that. But if Disney see that they're funding a huge chunk of bollocks basically that nobody's watching and they pull it, he's got nobody, and at this point he's probably lost all those casual and diehard ones as well, because it's not what they recognize anymore. And for them, I think bringing Tennant and Tate back has, well, certainly for Tennant, the way he's been totally emasculated now, it's basically shat on all his original tenure as well, and you can't see that in isolation anymore. And that makes you think, well, can I actually take any new Who seriously at all? In which case, Doctor Who finished in 1989 with a quick back in 1996, and that was it. And I think if it does fail and it's off for a few more years and then they think about bringing it back, I don't think they can reboot New Who. I think you've got to go back and carry on from Survival or McGann. You couldn't take any of New Who because it just goes up shit creek. Simple as.
I know what you're saying there. I hear you on that one, and I do actually think you're right on that. But the issue would be, of course, that I think we're in those throes now, aren't we? Because I'm beginning to think that they are flogging a dead horse here. But that's just my iteration of what's going on. They may surprise me next week. They may surprise me on Christmas Day. They may surprise me next year. But at this moment in time, I'm thinking, just let the thing go. I'd like to say hello here to JFO, who's joined us in the chat. Russell needed to produce 3 Waters of Mars level specials. Instead, we've got Planet of the Dead levels. I actually did think as well, JFO, nice to see you, that this looked a bit Waters of Mars-y, if you know what I mean, from the little bits and pieces we saw. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a bit of a thriller. Crimply into Bloom is saying, missed the dialogue early on, more due to mumbling. Absolutely. We've got Meddling Funk. I was forever turning the volume up and down.
Yeah.
Jack, can someone tell me how these specials are celebrating 60 years of Doctor Who exactly? Well, they're not, are they? They're really, really not.
You've got the toy maker in the next one, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. So let me guess, RTD is treating this as a short series, so the Doctor or someone superior will have to save everything again. I think that could be coming, and Brendan's got a very interesting rumour that hopefully we'll have time to talk about a little bit later on in the show. Woodhouse122 is saying Tennant and Tate were brought back to repair the damage caused by Chibnall's run, but he's just adding to that damage now, isn't he?
I actually, for a minute, thought I'm beginning to miss Chibnall, and that's saying something.
Really? Oh my God.
After last night,
that's ridiculous.
I know, yeah. So I'm only half joking, to be honest.
We've got to a point where the Geordie Doctor apparently had certain inclinations towards one of her companions, so she was gay. You've now had this Doctor. Yes, you've now had this Doctor reference fancying a man, and now we know. Gay. So what if you're talking about rebooting, if you're talking about saving the series and all the rest of it, not fans, general viewers will say that Doctor Who program, he's gay, isn't he? He's been gay, and it'll just wipe all that out. When you reinforce it, that will become the established position rather than saying each Doctor's different.
Well, let's continue that conversation now. Let's continue that conversation now, along with what Kirsty wanted to talk about right at the top of the show as well. This is the point, everybody, where we have to tell you we don't want to trigger you in any way, but let's go to the opening sequence.
It was a lovely English garden. It was lovely.
Right. What I want to say to everybody at this point is, I want to just retell you, we are not here to trigger you in any single way. Please tell us what you thought. Be open and honest. Tell us your troubles about all these things that happened in the beginning of this episode. Tell us them now. And just bearing in mind, though, here's a disclaimer, everybody, that myself and the Whotastic panel, just like people who deliver unconscious bias training in corporations, have no bloody clue what we're talking about. Bear that in mind right now as we help you with the opening title before the titling sequence. So let's get on with this. Let's see if anybody in the chat is going. Right, come on. Yeah, so this opening title sequence, the Spider is kicking off here by saying current Who is too socially current, like a comedy that relies on today's political jokes. It cannot stand the test of time. Panel, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, it's going to date. 5 years' time will be completely dated.
Mm-hmm. 5 years' time? I would hope sooner than that, with all this nonsense we've got to deal with now, and all this pronoun nonsense and all this sort of stuff. I'd hoping at some point the adults will come back into the room. I can't wait 5 years. I'll kick off.
I think the shame is that we had to hope that RTD was going to heal the wounds of the divisive fandom and the divided opinion on the show. And what he's done is doubled down on it. And he's made those wounds even more raw and sore. He's made it worse. I mean, he really is saying, no, I'm on this side of the fence. And like I said in my quick review, it's amazing how he really does not want his best mate, apparently, Chris Chibnall's work to be erased or cancelled or revised. But we can revise history, we can revise an awful lot of political things, but we can't revise Chris Chibnall's work. I mean, you know, it's more important depicting Isaac
Chibnall
Newton.
started with the knife, and then Russell went, "Oh, can I help you?" And he went, "Certainly," and then gave Russell the knife, and he's just putting Doctor Who on life support now.
Just to let you know, the elephant has arrived. Elephant in the room, everybody.
It just shows you that there is an agenda, though.
At this point, I also want to know, let our Who viewers know that if you are troubled by any of the conversation, then we do have a helpline for you. It's available now at a premium rate. And I think that as well, what we also need to tell TARDIS Spider is that we do recommend a therapeutic element for you. We recommend special training, which can significantly support you in altering your view. That's for you. Yes, so we've got that there as well. Let's talk about this. This is kicked off today. Oh.
Well, can I say something about this? I don't want to sound like a bigot, just to get that across, but I don't mind equality, diversity, all that kind of stuff. I'm all for being nice and kind to people, but this is a real life historical character. It's not a fictional character. You can make James Bond a different ethnicity, different sex. What you want to do, that's fine, do that. But Isaac Newton, or to give me his full title, Sir Isaac Newton, was a historical character, a real person. He's not fiction. He's real. And you put this picture up of him. There are paintings of him, drawings of him. We know what he looks like, and he wasn't mixed race. So how does that work? Especially on an educational level, from the BBC, they should be teaching history that's actually accurate, not inaccurate, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, of course. I was going to say, go on, Brendan.
JT, the origins of Doctor Who was to educate and inform, and what they did in the first 2 minutes is tell a historical lie. So well done, BBC, for celebrating Doctor Who's whole point in the first place by blasting it apart. And the other thing is, we are told to respect other cultures, and I applaud that. Respect is the key to many civilized societies, but don't respect British culture. Isn't that a fascinating irony?
One of the things
is earned, not given.
Sorry, Kirsty?
Respect is earned, not handed over like that.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I mean, this has kicked off a big time today, and we're getting lots of people here as well. Meddling Funk is saying, like last week, I had vision problems after the episode from my eye rolling. We do, of course, Meddling Funk, recommend our hotline number for you. And we also recommend special training, which can significantly support you in altering your view. That's what we recommend. So we've got that coming up. We also have Jack is saying, point of personal privilege. Can everyone talk a little softer? I'm feeling a little unsafe. Yes, you can. We agree with that, Jack. We will do that for you. But of course, as ever, we recommend special training, which can significantly support you in altering you.
I mean, Brendan, you said about, Doctor Who being there to inform and educate. I think that was actually the entire original remit under Lord Reith for the BBC. Full stop. Yeah. Not just Doctor Who. And I mean, Doctor Who was seen as semi-educational, absolutely. But the whole BBC was to inform and educate. And I think there was another nugget in there somewhere. But it just didn't. It did lie. It traded a falsehood, knowing full well that some kids out there who are hugely impressionable will go off thinking now that Sir Isaac Newton was half Indian, as it seems that actor was, which is wrong. It's absolutely wrong on every level. I don't care about fictitious characters that can be played by who they like, what they like. I have a few questions about gender swapping because I think that is done just to pander. But the whole thing with taking established historical characters and there's been a lot of it on Twitter at the minute. There's been quite a lot of hugely fun. But some people have been putting up pictures of Rosa Parks, played by a blonde white woman. Why not? Why not? Yeah. You know full well that the lefty woke bollocks would go crazy about it. They wouldn't be able to cope because they can't.
It's like I said myself on social media. I actually said myself, I look forward to seeing a black actor playing a certain 1940s dictator, and let's see how that goes down. I'll just go into the chat very quick. Hello to Vasco. Lovely to see you. Thanks for joining us. Race swapping is stupid, and I don't think it helps people of colour at all. I don't feel represented in any way. This is an insult. They turned Sir Isaac into an Asian fop for an awful joke. We've got here as well that opening scene would have had people switching off. It helps turn the show into even more of a joke. Now, what I want to do at this point, guys, if I may, is actually just point you to the fact that we all do know that social media has kicked off big time since this particular one. There's a couple of things. Yeah, well, yeah, but this, I mean, this, what I would like to say to everybody watching is you've got to understand right now that Davis and his team are trolling everybody. They are trolling fan base big time. They are trolling the British public also because they don't like the British public, because the British public won't do what the cult demands of them. We know all the demands, but since Brexit, that has been a problem here. And a lot of these people will not forgive that. So they're trolling everybody. So actually just expect it and enjoy every single minute of it. And that's what we want you to do here on Who's Views, because they are trolling you. There have been the usual suspects coming out on the back to support this. This gentleman, we all know him, old Benji here. Isaac Newton had Indian heritage and the doctor is gay and fancies him. He was quoting there apparently from The Standard, which gave the show 5 stars. Flawless headline, no notes, Doctor Who has ascended. I mean, come on. And then there was this one this morning from a guy I had to look up. Far right, Twitter filling its nappy about Isaac Newton being played by an actor of colour. Now, the rest of it I get, but the rest of it, but it's always far right. Always the far right. These people are terrified of the far right. And this is coming, I can tell you where this comes from in a second, but I didn't know who this was. So I had to look him up, and then I thought, oh, why have I bothered? Because I might have known. I might have known.
I could have told you who he was,
Trying to keep the job in there. But it's always the far right. And it's just nonsense. And then, I don't know if any of you have noticed, but the new edition of SFX magazine is out. It's this one.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, there's this bit in here. Now, the whole article, or interview, sorry, with Davis through this, and I've read it twice now. Oh, dearie me. He does sometimes he comes across to me as, you know, one of those fellas that goes through a midlife crisis and has to crave the attention of young females around him and gets the sports car and goes on the expensive stuff and leaves his wife and kids and all that sort of stuff. Like a breakdown. But it seems to me that in some cases, this can be that sort of example, because in this, the SFX person said, writers are trying to be progressive and to reflect more of society, though that's nothing new to you. Does it feel more important to you now? Is it just part of your makeup anyway? And the response from Davis is, it is part of my makeup. I'm obviously aware that this stuff has been weaponized in a culture war and used by the right wing so clumsily, but actually with a lot of power and strength, no matter how clumsy they are. Why is everything that disagrees with them right wing? You're missing out the centrists here, people. You're missing out the normal working class, hard-working people of the United Kingdom. They're not right wing. And I'll tell you something as well, everybody. When and if, God forbid, the real right wing raise their heads,
we're in trouble.
You'll be the first to know about it.
Yeah.
I think one of the bizarre things is that they try and be polarizing, and it's a way of shutting up debate as well, because if they think they can portray you as a Nazi or a fascist or a racist or whatever, then they would think that will shut you up and stop you producing a viewpoint that is opposite to theirs, because they are such a bunch of weak bedwetters that they can't actually cope with an engaged debate. So they have to insult you to shut you down, and they think the far right is a way of doing it. But if you look at what is effectively I would say Russell T Davies and the like, and Peg the idiot, and Benjamin Cook, who's the second O is clearly meant to be a C, is that they're far left, if nothing else. They're absolute far left, and the problem is that they support things. They support things like, you know, the Palestinians, for example, and Gaza and all that kind of thing, and Hamas. But the problem is, Hamas were doing the kind of thing that the Nazis were doing in World War II. So actually, the far left now are the Nazis, actually. They're doing more Nazi things now. And the far right are just the ordinary people, like you say, JT. They're the centrist people, the people in the middle. They just think...
Allegedly, by the way. Everything here is alleged, and it's just a point of view. We've got to be careful with words on here, Ian, as well, because YouTube don't like the N-word. So we can't do that. So what's the wording, everybody? But everything's alleged. Try and make sure that we don't get us taken off the air.
To go on a little more comic note, did anyone notice about Sir Isaac Newton? It was like he walked off the set of Rent-A-Ghost, don't you think?
He did, but actually, he actually walked off the set of It's a Sin, of course, because that's where the actor, who was Nathaniel Curtis, first appeared. He's 32 years old, and yes, he played it. I think he was miscast because he went for a camp comedy. You're right, the Rent-A-Ghost type of stuff. Perhaps if he tried to play it without tongue in cheek, it might have pulled it off.
But this is where look. Oh, they love it. I mean, the quotes you always get is the show's obviously not for you now if you're so triggered by that. And but the thing is, quite rightly, he sets up a trans character and he says, he will die on that, on that issue. He also raises the Davos issue. He doesn't want evil tropes to do with wheelchairs. It seems to me with Disney, Hollywood, and now the BBC, a white person is evil. And so what they do is they've cast an half Indian, half English character as actor as Isaac Newton, and you cannot depict a white man as good, as in civilized, invented something. And you've got to go back to Hollywood and the Enigma Code. Suddenly they were the ones who discovered the solution to the Second War, not the British. You find that I remember studying Disney and The Lion King, and they were looking at PC-ness then when Scar was the dark-furred character who was evil with a British, Jeremy Lyons accent. And Hollywood loves the trope of a British gent who's a baddie. And what you've now got is the British, i.e. British Broadcasting Corporation, who will not broadcast anybody white as good. So Chibnall showed you Mary Seacole in Flux, and she's got a bit of a dubious reputation because he didn't want to show Florence Nightingale. He had a choice. And it's just classic nowadays. And what we're doing, if we don't argue about this, and never mind bedwetters and everything, if we don't argue the toss here, you are slowly seeing the BBC erasing British history with horrible histories and everything.
Oh, I think they're long gone.
Nobody who's white can be depicted as they've discovered anything, explored anything, or done. I bet you Captain Cook's from our area, they'll depict Captain Cook as a black man. You watch it, because they will not dare show a white man do anything good.
Well, it's like we said last week. Every show that the BBC produces now has to have 20% diversity, doesn't it? So at least Russell got his 20% into yesterday's episode because he couldn't really do much. I'm very surprised that the little robot they had there was of a sort of off-white colour as well, personally. But I think, Brendan, the BBC is long gone. And this is why they've lost over 2 million households, because it doesn't relate to the people that are watching it and paying a license fee. So why should they when they've got other things they can choose from? And for somebody that loves the BBC as much as he does, and we all know who I'm talking about, as he's always on about it. Everything's about the iPlayer. Everything's about BBC Sounds. Everything's about supporting and getting this generation they're all pandering to, the Generation Z lot, to pay a license fee, which they're never going to do. So forget anybody over the age of 35, because it's all about the under 35s to make sure the BBC's heritage is and future is secure. They're not going to do it. They're not going to pay a license fee. Forget it. And put programming out, because it's all about now pandering to that lot that aren't going to do it, isn't it? Really, it's pandering to a TikTok generation, and he's killing the BBC. He's actually contributing to destroying it.
It's inconsistent, though, because RTD in an interview a soul back, he said only gay people should play gay characters, blah blah blah. There was a big debate about it because he made a big fuss when he was doing interviews for It's a Sin. So now you've got Isaac Newton played not by somebody who depicts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't keep just changing, your issue and changing how you're going to do it.
He can. He obviously can. That actually comes up in the SFX interview as well. And he says that part of his vision has changed because he did, was it called Years and Years, the show?
Yeah.
No, it was
It's convenient, I see.
I never watched it, but he worked with people that were from a different persuasion to himself, and that's opened his eyes. So he's in full support of this now. We've got TARDIS Spider here saying boxes are being checked and more important than viewers. Absolutely, and I'm afraid that's where the publicly funded BBC seems to be now. We've had lots of people saying what Woodhouse 122 is. The fella, this will be Curtis, played this like a horrible histories outtake. That's That's what I meant. It was like Rent a Ghost. It was like it was quite camp, and it shouldn't be. But when you're dealing with an actor from the TQI cult, that would be really what we're supposed to do. Well, no, we've got Michael here saying RTD said there's a long history of white people being associated with innovation, and I had a problem with that. And again, that's the problematic area of this, isn't it? Really.
Go and sack yourself, RTD. Says a white man. It's classic, isn't it? I mean, is it?
I think it must really keep Russell T Davies awake at night. The fact that he's got straight white teeth. You know, I mean, he just can't. It's an immutable fact that he can't get over, isn't it? He's got straight white teeth. He must hate himself for that.
Well, actually, Crimpeline's saying here to you, Ian, pointed teeth are evil in Russell's eyes, and he's offended. I mean, if you have got pointed teeth, and this is Britain, so anything can happen, especially around my old neck of the woods, and you were offended by this, then don't forget that you can actually get in touch with us here on the Whotastic panel, and we will offer you support. We will offer you special training which can significantly support you in altering your view, because that's what it's all about now. And this is what he's getting at you all. He's trolling.
The fees are quite cheap, aren't they?
Yeah, I want 6 billion grotzits for all of that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's done that deliberately. He's absolutely done. He knows he's done it. And this is the thing about it. You know, the production team of this and the show. Well, no, they just think they're clever, Kirsty. They're all going to go, ha, 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 we're going to upset the right wing. You're not. You're upsetting centrists.
But all these people can go out and they like at galas and parties and kind of award things and stuff, like different producers and whatnot for the BBC, and they can sniff each other's farts and be like, oh, we're the best, and la 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 la.
That's what they do. That's showbiz. I mean, you have to remember that the show business elite, of which Davis and his team are part of, look down on us. We are there to be dictated to and educated. And right now, what's happening, of course, is our normal everyday opinions have to be challenged, because we have to be told that. Also, well, you know the stuff. I'm worried about that if we get taken off. I want to say hello to Rob Dev here. Rob Dev is saying, can't see Mary Seacole. Come to you in a second, Brendan. Can't see Mary Seacole or MLK being played by Whitey McWhite. No. And we've also got hello to Matt532 joining us here as a stormtrooper. Love to see you, but that's problematic because it seems to be black. White, rather. I live in Lincolnshire, where we are proud of the history of Newton. Congratulations to you. That's brilliant. Thank you for joining us. I think this is very disappointing. Van Gogh was how to treat historical characters. Absolutely fantastic example. Yes, I mean, beautiful casting. Go on, Brendan.
Well, the thing is, as you're saying, RTD, etc., are kind of replicating a far left agenda. Far left don't like countries, don't like nations, don't like society, don't like community. They're raising an individual agenda, a queer agenda, a critical race theory agenda. They don't like anything that binds a society together. So us liking being British is shocking, is so old-fashioned, is so dinosaur. And so they challenge anything that triggers us as a nation to go, no, I don't want my culture dislike this. That if you said that trans was a subculture, he wants us to respect that. Respect the British culture, because you know the way Disney's coming. The next Doctor after Shooty will be Indian or Chinese, Far Eastern or something. They want a global agenda. And suddenly the Britishness of Doctor Who will be erased for good as well.
I think that's already started to go. I'll be honest. I think that if anything, that last week's episode, The Star Beast, and yesterday's episode showed me is it wasn't quintessentially the British Doctor Who that I know and love. There was an element, and I think that's why I've written down here, this was hollow again, and it could have done with more. It could have done with more. I mean, trying to be the reason that this show did very, very well for years abroad is because it is British, and it has a British humour, it has a British sensitivity, it has a British respect. It talked to, you know, working class people of Britain, as well as people outside the UK. And that just seems to be a little bit weird now. It just seems to be a little bit lost. That's what I was getting from yesterday. I mean, it looked fantastic. Let's say to the designer whose name is coming up on my scroll, and I can't remember his name, but we shall give him a shout out. The thing itself looked incredible. I do love the look of the show. I think he's done Phil Sims. There you go. I think he's done amazing. I mean, look at this one. I mean, that is beautiful. What a talented designer. Yeah. I mean, he's very, very talented. And the whole thing did look absolutely stunning. And it was lit properly. All these things that we sometimes critique in our other reviews. Yeah. Go on. What's that?
I was the last one with David there. That's a cracking photo. You can see money has gone into places that's up the ante.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
did Disney was Disney involved with the funding at this point for the specials or not?
Yeah.
I think possibly, and as they're getting a credit as well, it must have come in by this particular point. Yeah. But well done from myself to Phil Sims. I mean, the show looks superb, but what's the point of just having a superbly looked show? And I find that happens an awful lot now with people. These things can look fantastic. The effects, the special effects can look amazing. The CGI can look amazing, but the story is so down on the list.
Yeah.
And then to top it off, when you're going to do elements that you know will annoy your viewers, I don't understand why these people are doing this now. Why would you want to upset your viewers?
But maybe as well, because we're in a state of the world where we're saying about TikTok earlier, we don't have an attention span anymore.
Yeah,
we're doom scrolling on Instagram, we're doom scrolling on TikTok, and they're like 30 to 40 seconds reels, and it's this shiny thing you want to see that will catch your attention instead of actually having a story. It's almost doom scrolling now with that is, it's shiny, it's them, we'll watch.
That's why we're all struggling, because the episodes are too long. They should be 25 minutes long.
Yeah, there you go. There's the solution. Go back to 25-minute episodes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've always wanted, as you all well know. I've always wanted to go back to at least a half-hour episode over so many weeks, because you can tell more of the story, because that needed a little bit more. I'm sick and tired of actually sitting there thinking, right, this is going to be resolved in 10 minutes and bang, there you go. And that's something that, in my opinion, Davis has never actually managed to actually do, is to resolve something properly. Jack's saying here, it's shiny and pretty on the surface. It is. Yeah. It does look good. Gary Bryant's joining. Hi, Gary. He forgot to say hello, fellow plebs, according to Davis and his team. Well, that's where we're at now, isn't it? And they don't like us, and they don't like the British public. Was it too well lit, says the Thinking. Nice to see, mate. Wouldn't it be better and more spooky if it was darker? Yeah, probably, very probably, yeah. But
I was really pleased they went into a ventilation shaft. I thought, oh, good, Doctor Who cliche number one, lovely.
Yeah, I would have liked a bit more of that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Is it easier or more interesting to teach SFX over teaching how to be a creative writer? Well, there we go. Listen, thank you for joining us. We've got a lot of people in the chat with us, watching us. If you're not in the chat with us, please come into the chat. We want to know your opinion. No, nobody's wrong on the show. It's your opinion. That's what it's all about. So come and join us in the chat. Say hello to us. Tell us we're being stupid if you have to. If you want to. We don't mind. We're all adults here. But please do make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, because we've got lots of cracking stuff out there for you, and we've got more to come.
GT, could you put the photograph up again of Tennant with the orange tree?
What is this? An order service?
Yeah, please. Just I don't want to point something
out. Yes, I've got the postcard here. We've got this one, actually. I've got two.
Yeah, that's what I meant. When he did that, and they did that, I actually liked that gag when Donna said, "Are you okay?" and he pretended to be, he's going to like pass out. That was very funny. I liked that gag. Yeah,
that did sort of work here, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit predictable, but I did like it.
Yeah, but it was nice.
It was nice. It was good. I'm trying to think of a few positives on this as well, you know.
Well, yeah. I'm sure there must be somewhere.
There's a couple more, yeah.
Well, those two rooms were the classic. That orangey room and then the more bluey room where he was playing around with the water were just fillers to do that doppelganger trick. So basically, as a beautiful, lit up and very inventive two sets there were, they didn't serve any purpose. And this is the snag. I felt really sorry for the director. I felt sorry for the visual effects staff. I felt very sorry for the set designer. I felt sorry for people who had a lot of skill and were really busting their gut for that program. When
you can tell that, can't you?
Yeah, the essence of the script didn't deliver. I mean, to me, the most meaningful bit was the rush bit at the end with Donna. That was the bit that got me. The rest, I was like,
Was that the only one that actually enjoyed Unleashed more than the episode?
I don't watch Unleashed. I'm not going to be preached to in that either.
Was really, he seemed a really sweet guy, and he was talking about like at the end, like I got 3 different versions of like bangs, and I picked this one, and he was eager and ready to go. He seemed a lovely chap, and if they'd given him more to play with, I think he could have had more and had more fun.
Wasn't the episode that I said loads of directors, when they saw the script, they all wanted to do this script, so they could see how creative and risky it was. I mean, I think if we talk about great shots, it's that shot of outside at the end of space. It was a bit like a Jacques Cousteau under the water abyss shot.
Well,
Yeah.
just know that again reminded me of the Satan Pit episode.
Yeah.
Where you had that floating body. I mean, when the banging was coming along, I sort of assumed, oh, there's something outside the ship, because I've seen it before. Not just there, not just in that particular edition of Doctor Who all those years ago, but I've seen it in other things as well. When it comes to the talent, I totally agree. We've got some fantastic people working on this show now, and they're obviously working hard. They are loving it. They're producing some lovely goods. Totally agree with you, Brendan. Kirsty, what we need to remember now, that Doctor Who now, for many of the talents both off screen and on screen, Doctor Who is now a stepping stone. And they'll go on from this and go on to something else, because they're using it to get into America, or they're using it to get into Hollywood.
Marvel.
Yeah.
It's the same with Marvel right now. They're just giving it to, because I love my comics, so a lot of the tried on Disney Plus, the TV shows, a lot of them who have been given writing opportunities have just come straight out of school, instead of people who have actually had to graft and do the dodgy jobs to then build up their repertoire and whatnot. And it's just because they're female, or they're a person of colour, or they're part of the communities, or whatever. I really don't like that.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. When that opening sequence, just to go back to that for a second, started, I immediately thought of The Visitation because of the year. Yeah. But The Visitation was done with so much class and accuracy. And then this, when he's in a tree. I just don't understand. It was there purely, in my opinion, to upset people. You know, it was there to cause some sort of controversy. And just to let other people know, if you don't know, that the Star Beast this week did cause controversy from what those people who are producing the show will call the right wing, because we're all right wing. Get on with it. It doesn't matter how we're all right wing now. You've got to accept that. As far as they're concerned, we are all right wing. So make peace with it and just get on with it and ignore them and have a good laugh at them. It doesn't matter. But we did have lots of publicity on various things that they will hate and are trying to bring down, like GB News, Talk TV, even that awful paper, The Sun, everything like that. Now, although these people don't like it, and I'm not fond of certain media outlets myself, it doesn't matter, because the British public watch them, the British public read them, the British public support them. They are ground a couple of these platforms are getting more and more viewers daily as they move away from the national broadcast, and they want to hear an alternative point of view rather than propaganda. So they are listening to this. So what are they going to do? Laugh at the show and switch off. They're not going to bother watching it. And we actually saw that in the overnights, and we'll come to that very soon last night. You know,
talking about laughing at it, I was thinking before the episode started, we've not had any ones coming up to where it was set, because I had obviously had 1666 in the Chibnall era. Every other episode, your scenes would change quite quickly, and you'd have it was I think it was Madagascar or blah blah blah. These all would come up constantly, and I thought, as soon as that came up with the title, I thought, oh, not again. Because that was really, it became a real cliche with Chibnall. Every other scene had this where it was. It was ridiculous.
It shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, because Isaac Newton explained it in the dialogue. It's stupid. Like, more pandering.
Honestly, was it worth 2 minutes to raise
to them? It is, yes.
And to fill 2 minutes for a Mavity joke. I mean, honestly.
To them it is, because he's making a point, isn't he? He's making the point that I've put out there. He's getting at the fans. He's getting at the public that don't think like them. Jack is making a really good point here. Let's get to some of these in the chat for a second, please, Paul. Doctor Who never needed high polish of production design and effects to be brilliant. Totally agree. I'm here saying with Michael, RTD scripts have always been pompous and shallow. Not a lot of depth to anything he writes or says. And Matt 532, a gritty, wobbly world set is always a winning formula. As some of the soaps to this very day, I believe, show. Garbage is saying, Midnight was fantastic with no budget. This had a big budget, but was average at best. That's an interesting point of view, that as well. Rob is saying here, this, is not in any way an anniversary special. And JFO, I can't drink that, it runs right through me. Russell missed an opportunity with having a shape-shifting villain of not bringing back old doctors and companions to torment the Doctor and Donna. that's a fan thing, but I think the public would have liked that sort of thing because they have made a lot of they made a lot of speculation. This is supposed to be a 60th anniversary special, as you were saying in the chat. Is it? Not yet, it isn't. Thinking it was a lot of waffle in the episode with little reward or payoff. It's the law of probability that a few good scenes appear in an episode. And then Jack's bringing this one up as well. So David Tennant's doctor thought the Indian Isaac Newton was hot, which is again has caused some controversy on the internet as well, wasn't it? I mean, it was just a silly line, isn't it? It's just a silly line. He's trolling you, everybody. That's all he's doing. To use the current vernacular, he's trolling fans. And
can I say that the bit about the gravity thing at the start with Newton is interesting. I'm sure there's more to this as it goes on, but it should be a self-contained episode. But a friend of mine put up on Facebook earlier today, it really made me laugh. So I'm not going to take full credit for this, but Frontios has a character called the Gravis.
Yes.
Now, if that's changed, it's now called Mavis.
It's just nonsense, isn't it? I mean, why change all these things? You know, I mean, Mavis would probably suit any new tractator that came into the show. You're absolutely right there, Crimpeline. Yes, that actually did happen. The Doctor did claim to have explained gravity to Newton in the Pirate Planet. Absolutely, it did. So again, Russell's either. I mean, for somebody who wants to make sure the whole show meshes together, he's rewritten a couple of things. Liz Shaw was forgotten last week, and he's forgotten that bit there. Gemstone's videography, hello there. Things have moved on since the 60s and 70s. A white man, woman should play a historical character on their own heritage. Now, this applies for Asian black actors to play their own historical figures. Yep, that's absolutely fine. I totally agree because that's if you're going to play the historical characters, don't disrespect them, as Brendan was saying. Cast somebody who will actually enjoy playing the part, and I don't know. Again, he's trolling you, and I think it's something that we have to really just laugh at him to do because it's just absolutely ridiculous. Timescales has joined us from San Francisco. Hello, nice to see you, mate. Yeah, we're here with a review, with a review of what was it called? Wild Blue Yonder. Wild Blue Yonder here on Whose Views. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Please come and join us in the chat if you haven't already to give us your view of the episode, which was apparently the second special in the 60th anniversary episodes of Doctor Who. None of us have seen anything special in them yet.
Look up the definition in the dictionary.
They've started
Bernard Cribbins, he was special.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Well, that was,
to celebrate 60 years of Doctor Who, as I totally agree with what Ian said earlier, they have diminished the Doctor, the emasculation of him. You mentioned last week when I wasn't on, a woman hitting him. He's been challenged by female humans to be Ron and get his pronouns wrong. He's been told being a male presenting Time Lord is worse than being a female presenting. He says he fancies Isaac Newton. He's no threat to being in the TARDIS with Donna, according to her husband. And now we've got Dr. Gay. And so the point is, in summary, you've got a gay writer who gets angry about certain issues and not others and wants fair representation, who's actually challenging the British public to say, I've turned a straight male character into a gender fluid, gay, etc., bisexual, non-binary character. How's about that, folks?
Plus, you see, this is where I would always say this is where, I mean, I've had this discussion with yourself as well on the show, with John, where I don't like this representation in Doctor Who because it's a science fiction fantasy show. And how can you be representative of a Dalek? You can't really, and you shouldn't be representative of a Dalek. If you are, then we need to send some people to see you. How can you be representative of a Cyberman or a green blob in a pit? You can't be. So it shouldn't be about that. And this is where I think in soap operas, I expect it. You would sit down, not that I would do, to watch that sort of stuff and want that as well, because it has to reflect the daily life you're in. But this is a science fiction fantasy show. It should be out in time and space and not be worrying about 21st century politics or social commentary from hard leftists, basically. I don't think there's any place for it. Hang on, Brendan. I don't think there's any place for it at all in the show. But what we've got here is all this is coming in, dating it completely and utterly. You won't be able to watch it in 50 years like you can the classic series now. We can enjoy that brilliantly now because it's not real. But is the Doctor gay? No, he's not. He's an alien. He's from the planet Gallifrey. He is a Time Lord. He is above all that. He shouldn't be sexual in any way, shape, or form. It's just ridiculous. Bring back the bloody Doctor I grew up with.
Well, here's a question, because I raise that because obviously it's a celebration of 60 years of Who, and he's been diminished. But the other question I've got is, after 2 hours of Doctor Who in 2023,
yes,
paid for by the British taxpayer, you name me how many white male leads have you seen who are in their 2 hours?
Well, you've got Tennant, haven't you?
Just one, yeah.
One, and our friend at the end. That's it.
Yeah. Crimpling Doubloon is saying here, I'm expecting things are being set up for Shooty's Doctor to declare himself non-binary. He's an alien. He's an alien. And he shouldn't have all these human things. Oh, hello to Glenn. Glenn Piper's just joined us. The Doctor isn't from Gallifrey anymore. Hello, Glenn. It's nice to see you. As far as I'm concerned, anything that happened when I wasn't watching it hasn't happened, mate. Yeah, so right. I have no idea what happened with all that stuff. So as far as I'm concerned, he's still a Time Lord from Gallifrey.
Going back to what Brendan said, you can't diminish the hero. The Doctor's the hero. He's the cleverest man in the room. Don't diminish him. He's the one that has the control of the narrative. So don't knock him. He should be the one that's driving it.
The one little snag I've got that Paul, I'm arguing myself slightly, is when Doctor Who started 60 years ago, since RTD isn't bothered about this aspect, in a way, William Hartnell was an anti-hero, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So I'm arguing against myself as well. There's a
that was good.
Version do we want of the Doctor, you know?
Yeah. Well, what we want from the Doctor, and Ian wants to say something, so I'll bring you in a second. What we want from the Doctor is we want a recognisable character. We want the Time Lord from Gallifrey that we knew for 26 original years, and which we nearly got until they started playing with it from 2005 onwards. There are episodes from that original run of the reboot Who that I recognise the Doctor in. Especially in things like I hate to say it because I don't like the author, the Family of Blood and all that sort of stuff, the Satan Pit, lovely sweat. There's the elements there. They were getting there, but then they had to get all this stuff coming into it, the social commentary coming into it. So they've turned the Doctor. He's not a human being. He is, as far as I'm concerned, and will always be a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey. I'm not interested in all that reboot nonsense. So yeah, Ian, what were you going to say?
I was going to say it hasn't. There's been nothing really that's been a decent celebration of 60 years at all on TV. The colorized Daleks was bloody awful. These episodes so far haven't been anything. If anything, they're a celebration of the last 6 years of Doctor Who. Everything since Chibnall came in and it all started going to hell in a handcart.
Well, he's doing that. He's doing that deliberately, isn't he? As I say, he's trolling you, isn't he, Kirsty? He's trolling us all because he's dumbing down on that because it's been on screen. He said this recently, didn't he, Kirsty? He said on screen recently, it's fine, everything's okay with that era. It's all on television. He more or less said to us all, as he now does, tough.
Yeah. It's self-indulgent, and just looking at his Instagram, it is just self-indulgent what he did. So
you just have to watch. If you watch the podcast, it's like
no, I'd rather not because there's
they're all like full up tugging. You know, they're just towing the party line. I can't do that. I'm not going to hear. But the
sorry, Paul. That the 3 minions that are doing the podcast, they're only talking about David Tennant, and as much as he's amazing, they're only just thinking that he is the only Doctor, he is the be-all and end-all, which is not fair on... I'm kind of coming in from a new Who approach, and I'm doing my kind of Padawan training, but you guys would appear as like right-wing because you were there, you've seen it, you've grown up with it, you've been there through the thick and thin of it all, and seen it in all its stages.
And supported it through 15 years off the air.
But these guys are slagging stuff which was talking about the 3 Doctors. That 73. That was amazing. That was amazing for that time.
Yeah. And as Kirsty mentions there, we will be reviewing the 3 Doctors in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned with us. Sorry, Kirsty, you were saying.
I'm looking forward to your takes on it as well, because that'll be fabulous.
Plug. Go on, what you go on? Sorry.
It's just mind blowing that. It's not. I'm 28, and it's not even made for me anymore.
Oh, well. Can I just say about that podcast as well? I will never watch it, and I would actually say to people, please don't, because there's a particular I mean, they're all hypocrites for one thing. I don't know who the fella is. Oh no.
You didn't just come out for David Tennant.
There is one person in there whose attitude towards gay men and women, same-sex attractive men and women, is very, very dodgy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's just it's diversity quota from the BBC for that podcast as well, and also I showed that to my partner. I went, look, tick, tick, tick. They've done it all, and yeah. David Tennant is amazing, and he did a lot for the show, but there is more, and they're not selling it to keep people coming back again and again, because David is amazing as the 10th Doctor, not so much as the 14th, but there's a whole universe for you to explore, and it's going to become dated with what's happening.
It already is. It already is dated. If you go back and watch anything from 2005 now, I said this before on the show, Kirsty, if you look at some of those episodes now, the ones that are actually specifically set in 2005, 6 or 7, it is dated because they're set in that time. And that's where original Doctor Who, it was always 5 or 10 minutes in the future, so it doesn't date. And not much of it was on present day Earth, let's face it, because they weren't frightened to take the viewers away to foreign, to monsters and other planets and stuff like that. Jack is saying here, all the Doctor should care about is saving the universe, exploring time and space, and practicing the yo-yo. He doesn't have time or interest in relationships. Timescales are saying, I told my wife when watching Wild Blue Yonder that I was afraid some people might not like certain areas. She said, face it, Doctor Who sucks most of the time, and that's why people love it. Okay. One thing I'd like to say as well is I've only 2 episodes into this new era. God help me. And I am absolutely, I'm already exhausted with sitting there in trepidation of the next line peeing me off, or rewriting a history that I love, or them saying something else about the Doctor. And I can't relax in the show because I'm waiting for the next line to piss me off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How have you managed over the last few years to watch it if it was always the way like this? I just don't understand you and respect you for sticking with that, because it's hard work. It really is. You're just on a knife's edge going, what they're going to say next, what they're going to say next.
It's been horrendous. It has been absolutely horrendous. But I saw today on Twitter there was somebody, one of the bedwetters, and there'd been a fan since Jodie. So
for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and they basically said in as many words that if you aren't with this era and where they're taking it, then you aren't entitled to a voice.
That's just nonsense, isn't it?
But that's how they think.
Of course it's how they think. But listen, people like that you react to by saying, listen, you lot should be bending the knee and kissing the arses of us, the fans that got it through 15 years and supported it through 15 years, so that it's been brought back to an entitled generation like you that have these pathetic beliefs. That's it. Because without us, that show would not be here now, because we got it through the 15 years and then we welcomed it back. We supported it. We talked about it. We bought the bloody tacky merchandise that was coming around it. Look at me or Nia. We supported it more than the kids that were in nappies at the time that have grown up with it now and came to it with a female Doctor. That says more about you lot than it does about us, I can assure you. Goodness me, how stupid are those people? They're so entitled, that generation. Glenn is saying here, can RTD even call himself a Doctor Who fan anymore if he thinks Davros is wrong? Well, yeah. Woodhouse 122, I definitely wouldn't be triggered to have to endure crystal meth on the podcast. It's not just that particular one. Look at RTD and his cronies, including the bloody overrated Tennant, remind me of fanatical cult. That's exactly what they're part of, though, Gary, isn't it? They are part of this whole TQI cult as well. And all it is, as I thought, is we are wrong.
I watched it because to see what their take was, and it's not like a conversation, a discussion. It's all on the same level. There's no, wasn't very good. Didn't like that. It's all, this was marvelous. That was marvelous. David was marvelous. Russell's fantastic. There's not any critical discussion or review, a proper review of it. It's all on the one level.
Sorry, Kirsty, say that again.
You can't have a discussion anymore. It has to be, you have to just agree with the person. That's gone nowadays.
Yeah, as we've seen through this fandom and the people that work on this show. If you do, I mean, we're all right wing now, and we're going to be labelled that, and we're going to be labelled ist, phobe and have been since that particular turn of events in 2017. Timescales are saying Russell T Davies, for the most part, owns Doctor Who and Bad Wolf at present, so he can do anything he wants. He's incredibly powerful. I've been saying this for a couple of years. He's incredibly powerful, and he knows it. And that's really, really worrying for myself. You know, that really is worrying. Yeah, that's that on there. Oh, goodness me. It's such a shame that, I mean, I've often said on the program, haven't I, I don't want to talk about this stuff, but they give it to us on a plate, and we should, and we have to. And I know they're all just laughing at us and calling us this and that and this and that and this and that because they're in their own bubble, their own echo chamber type thing. But this is what they give us, and as fans, we react to it.
We see.
Well, that's it.
In my review last week of the 3 minutes, I raced through and I said, I've priced in the trans issue was going to be in the Star Beast. So I kind of let it go to a degree. But actually what we found last night is we had another he-she moment with the captain floating outside. Yeah. Is it a he or a she? And then instead of just saying it's the captain, it had to be a she, because we're anti-patriarchy as well, of course. You know, there's so many tick boxes.
Yeah, it couldn't be Mr. Ed, it had to be Mrs. Ed.
Then you had the game moment. So basically, I thought last night would be, we've dealt with the present mess. Let's now kind of have a proper adventure. But he couldn't help himself. And that's going to be the problem. And these people, the issue is, including RTD, is none of them seem to respect history anymore. And while you were quoting saying, oh, that they're into the Jodie Whittaker era, and that's when they're joined, Ian, they're not referential or respectful of the history that went before, like we were taught. That's all that's different about us. And RTD is very happy at the moment to be the custodian of the show and disrespect the history of the show. It seems to be trendy to disrespect history and rewrite it. As he said, we're not in black and white anymore, and this is the way it's going to be with Davros. And I think he's going to do that with everything.
Of course he's going to. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. But as I said on our review of that Destination Skaro thing, that I mean, the problem is, society in the United Kingdom is not necessarily moving the way he wants it to. And that's part of the reason he's a very angry and therefore dangerous, because he's a powerful man. And this is the other reason I think he's wrong for Doctor Who. Not only do I think that his writing ability has failed him, because I can't see it there, because he's churning out similar things again. I do think he's wrong for Doctor Who. I do think he should be going back to his friends at Red Productions or whomever, getting back onto Channel 4 and writing that 9 o'clock trans drama or whatever other issue drama that he wants to, that attacks people, because that's for adults. And he has said, hasn't he? He has said that they want to make Doctor Who more, well, this I'm ad-libbing now, but they want to make it more progressive, as they call it, because the children want to watch and they want to get these messages to the children. Now, I'm sure deep down that comes from a place of wanting to do the right thing, but it made me chuckle in a sense, in an evil Anthony Ainley type manner, when he mentioned transphobia and homophobia in the same instance, because he's obviously turning a blind eye, or is totally and utterly ignorant to the fact that much of the trans activist rhetoric is homophobic. Do your bloody homework. Simple as that. It really is, because they're busy dictating to people like me, you must shag this and that. Well, we're not going to really, you know, because you can't change certain aspects. So I think there's a lot of confusion there when it comes to trying to do what they perceive to be the right thing, and they're very hypocritical. You're watching us Who's Views Reviews. We are actually talking about, believe it or not, Wild Blue Yonder, which broadcast last night, as you can see from the scroll below. There's a hell of a lot. I want to also say welcome to Problem Being, who has found us and has joined us. So it's lovely to see you. And he's saying here to me, thank you, mate. But yes, we're all very much on the same page when it comes to that, aren't we, mate? We've got Glenn here again saying, it's great for all your chats. Thank you very much for coming into this. Don't forget, we have got scores on the TARDIS doors coming up. We've got the ratings game coming up. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to be introducing you to a very, very expensive bit of AI kit that we're introducing tonight on Who's Views, which I hope you're going to enjoy. Glenn is saying, I once called RTD a genius. My heart sank on Children Need Night after what he said about Davros. I guess it took me 20 years to see the true colours. Everybody calls him a genius, and that's always dangerous. If everybody around you is kissing your ass and telling you you're lovely and not standing up saying, actually, should we do this? Or is this wise? You do become a bit How mad, you do become a bit of a Davros yourself. Z3PO, hello there. I like my women with an innie and my men with an outie. We all know what you mean by that one. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. And the Timescales is saying, JT, what about AI on this show? Yes, Timescales. And should I show you how that's going to work? Should I show them how it's going to work, Whotastic panel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go on,
Yes,
then.
We'll do that again. Should I tell them how it works, everybody?
Yes, go and do it.
Oh, thank you. We will do that. Yes, indeed. What's happened here is we've got this fantastic new AI that has cost me a fortune. Yes, and at this point, I'd like to say thank you to my uncle Sydney, who's over there. My uncle Sydney over there, who is looking after the AI. It's over there in a bucket. And what he's built this, and we only finished it. Actually, you only finished it yesterday, didn't you, Uncle Sydney? Yes. When we finished the milk in the carton. Yes. So he's ready to do this. And what this is, everybody, ladies and gentlemen and children, this is a new aspect of the show that we're bringing in. This is the wokeometer. This is where we talk about the various aspects of wokeism in the show. So again, if you are really, 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 really offended by this, well, there's nothing I can do about it. So what happens here is that this fantastic bit of AI that my dear Uncle Sydney has put together has been listening to all our comments and all our chat this evening and has had a look at the actual episode. And the wokeometer will now decide how woke this particular episode of Doctor Who was. So, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready with Uncle? Well, turn it up. Whip it. Oh. Here comes the wokeometer. And this is its actual judgment on how woke was Wild Blue Yonder. Nope. Oh, 5. It got a 5 out of 10 for being woke there, everybody. 5 out of 10. We can't actually disagree with it because the wokeometer is law.
It's
end of the story.
It's a jam.
Now, because we've only just managed to finish it yesterday, haven't we, Uncle Sydney? Yes, good old Uncle Sydney there. Now, because of that, I thought it would be fun for us to actually play last week's show to it, the Star Beast.
Oh.
So the AI watched last week's show and also watched last week's episode. So let's see how
far does it go up to? Is there a scale? Is there
10?
10.
Oh.
Okay, just checking. Okay.
So let's see, everybody, how woke the Star Beast was. Wind it up, Uncle Sydney. You can see everybody is moving up, the house moving up. Wokeometer is law. This is the final judgment. No one else can say anything else. The anticipation's great here, isn't it? Look at this. It's going up. Oh! It's going to 8. It's going to 8. This is for the Star Beast. 9. It's going to 9. It's 10, everybody. There you go. The Star Beast. Both our review of it.
Heidi high when somebody's pulling the thing behind to the.
That was the wokeometer. That was it. Let's have a look at this. Okay, that's it. Now I'm going to link the wokeometer to the timescales. Aha. Mr. Brown Alliance was 7-11. The wokeometer melted for the Star Beast. Nearly. Meddling Funk saying it was going to explode. Well, yes, indeed, it did. It seems about right. It says Bobby D75. Nice to see you. That's 10. No, Bo Derek. There's a name. You're showing your age there, I tell you. Let's have a look here. Yes, we did do the Star Beast for you. That was the second one. So I hope you enjoyed that. Now, the wokeometer is going to be joining us every new series review, because God help us if we manage to get through the next episode. If we manage to get through Christmas, then we do have plans to actually accompany Shooty Gatwa on his first series. I am so excited.
It's going to be broken by that time, I'd imagine. So.
Oh, God, can you imagine? You can play that with us every week on these new shows. The Wokeometer's Law. That's it. Thank you, Uncle Sydney. Yes, you can have a cuppa now. Bless him. Say thank you to Uncle Sydney, everybody.
Thank you, Uncle Sydney. Thank you.
And bless him.
Have a light now.
Well,
Yeah, it took him ages to put that together. Huge expense to myself, absolutely. We have got coming up very, very soon the ratings game, so stay with us for that. And of course, your scores on the TARDIS doors. Thank you for joining us. This is Who's Views Reviews. If you haven't already liked the video, please do. If you haven't joined us in the chat, please do. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. That's a lot of please do's there. Now, Ian, I think it was Ian earlier that mentioned the highlight of the entire show for all of us. And I think now is the time that we actually pay tribute to it himself. This, of course, was Bernard Cribbins making his final television appearance, not just in Doctor Who, but of course, as we know, sadly, on British television. This was his last work. And who didn't react to when Donna comes out the TARDIS and there he is waiting for her as she predicted. This was the best thing about this episode for me. What about you guys?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Yeah. I was heart in my mouth. I just was really chuffed to see him at such a lovely moment. I have to say though, if you've not watched the Unleashed, there's a lovely interview with him on that, and it's really nice just for that, because he was really cheeky and funny, and it was the old Bernard we all loved. So that was really nice. So go and check that out as well. Oh,
well, there you go. There's a plug for Unleashed. I might go. I'm sure, actually, they cut them down now on their
YouTube. Don't you worry. So
yes, on the WhoTube. It'll be there, won't it? So I think I might actually look at that. But it was lovely to see him. And as we know, Russell has actually said, hasn't he? Hang on. Let me just a reference piece of material, because he went onto social media yesterday, didn't he?
I can get it up on Instagram now if you need it.
Yeah, I've got it here as well, mate. And what he said, Jack says, well deserved 10 there for the Star Beast. It certainly was. So Russell actually said, farewell, old soldier. That's good night. That's good night and goodbye to our beloved Bernard. He says here, Wilf is mentioned in dispatches next week. All safe and sound, don't worry. But that's the only scene Bernard was able to film. We had a wonderful time. We'd never lost touch in all these years. So I phoned him up and asked him to come back. He sniffed and said, let me see the script. That's very Cribbins, that, isn't it? We had a wonderful read-through with 120 people, at which he was adored by one and all. A lovely dinner in Cardiff where he regaled us with tales galore, twinkling as ever. Then the shoot in Camden. You can see him and read in next week's Doctor Who magazine how much he enjoyed that. And then we had little more written, but it wasn't to be. At 93 years old, the old soldier had given us his best and stepped away. Night, Bernard, and thank you. And I love you. That's probably one of the better things that Russell T Davies has written in quite a while.
Yeah.
That's why he's only in that one, because he read the Star Beast, didn't he?
In some ways, if you think about it, when you look at Unleashed, did show you some of the clips of Bernard Cribbins in the newer Who. Never mind the movie, for example, and the Railway Children and all, and Carry-Ons and everything. But I wonder. I'd like to suggest something here. Was he one of the best companions the Doctor's ever had? Because he was witty. I liked the fact he was a veteran soldier. And there were some lovely scenes between the Doctor in that coffee shop, remember, when they were talking? And his relationship with Donna gave it a nice dynamic. I actually think he's one of the most real and most interesting companions the Doctor's had.
Well, that's the ability of Bernard Cribbins, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah.
I would agree with that completely. He's a fantastic actor. He's a fantastic character. I really like the scenes between him and Tennant on board the spaceship in that sort of like paused moment.
Beautiful.
At the end of time or whatever. And that was just really, really good. And you could see where they brought him back there. The actors actually like each other. They really like each other. That came through on screen.
David's named one of his children after Wilfred.
Yes, he has. Yeah, there is that lovely thing there. Yeah, Wilf. And I mean, the whole thing, it's very hard to describe to anybody that doesn't know Bernard, especially from outside the UK, because they only saw him in Doctor Who. But we grew up with Bernard Cribbins. Bernard Cribbins was a British institution. He was a legend. He had been around forever. You can see him in lots of different pieces of television and films. Fawlty Towers. You can see him in Carry-Ons. You can see him in various Hammer horrors. You can also, of course, see him in the Peter Cushing classic Dalek Invasion Earth 2150 AD, which is very, very familiar, and of course one of our favorites here on this channel. But he was around. He used to read the stories in Jack and Nori. We used to see him getting old. I mean, it was just a giant. To have him in Doctor Who was a thrill. But to see him on this last bit, the Wombles, of course. Simon is joining us. Simon Anthony, nice to see you, Simon. Glad you found the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Lovely to see you. But yes, the Wombles. Oh my goodness! I mean,
he was filming up between myself and Brendan. He was up at Staithes filming old Jack's boat, and he did that with Freema Agyeman, and that was really popular with the kids. That one,
wasn't it? Yeah, huge.
He was that kind of person that could appeal to all ages, really.
And he had that voice, and we've all been brought up on it. I mean, of a certain age. The Wombles was just before bed. Jack and Nori when you were younger. If a Christmas treat or a bank holiday treat was to watch a Carry On, when it was like the one when they're at the sea. Carry On Jack, was it, or something like that?
Carry On Jack, Carry On Spying.
Yeah, I mean. And he had that distinctive voice. He had that lovely, cheeky, sharp demeanour. I loved him as the station guard in The Railway Children. He brought each character alive. He created a kind of pathos and a kind of love for him at the same time. And that was Bernard Cribbins. He always made his characters shine. Yeah. The bus journey, when he had all the old biddies on the Doctor Who bus.
Yeah.
And he's doing his little jiggle and doing his little dance.
He brings it alive.
Yeah.
I mean, him and June Whitfield as well.
That was
absolutely brilliant. And June Whitfield, who we lost as well a couple of years ago. I mean, the old school, we will never see the like of them again. Matt532 is saying here quite rightly that he still listens to Right Sev Fred by Bernard. Absolutely. You have to, I think. I think you have to. Thank you so much as well to Timescales saying this is a great show. Everyone like and subscribe. Yes, please. That would be lovely. I mean, I did an audible at last because I was expecting him next week, and it's such a shame. I mean, you can't stop all this sort of stuff, of course. When it's your time, it's your time. But my goodness, what a joy to see him in there, and a nice rounded career end, I guess, as well. I mean, he was 90-something years old, and there he was in Camden on a busy day in his busy schedule, being Wilf. Still nailing a performance like that. Superb.
I mean, I'll give RTD so much credit, and there is a bit of coincidence and luck with time, but honestly, for Doctor Who coming back just at the point when we are able to invite Bernard Cribbins back for sadly a cameo, but that's a lovely, lovely roundup to his career. He's an actor. He says on Unleashed he doesn't really want to retire, that classic line. And it was lovely that his last performance was in Doctor Who, and it was lovely that he was called back. So RTD's done a few really good things there, because I can imagine being Bernard in your 90s. You've got a fantastic career, and that phone goes, go on then one more time. It's lovely. It's really lovely.
I love the way though that he did say to Russell, and I think it might. I mean, we don't know, but I'm assuming part of it was cheeky and part of it was serious. I want to see the script, because that was what he was like, and I'd read that in some books as well. He did say to an awful lot of people when he got to a certain level in his career, "I'd like to see a script first," and that must have been brilliant. I love. Problem being is here, Bernard was the everyman, the TV uncle you loved. Absolutely, he was our uncle, wasn't he? Problem being, he was there for all of us. I remember running home from school so many times for Jackanory. I love Jackanory, by the way, but when Bernard was doing it, like Kenneth Williams, it was extra special, and there was not one of those 4 episodes you could miss.
And remember, he was one of those, we were talking about respecting history. Bernard had the chat with RTD and said, surely you can fight a Dalek by covering its eye stalk with, and he put that into the Stolen Earth episode, didn't he?
Yeah.
What I loved was when he said to, Russell, "I fought Daleks before,
I know, yeah. And he had. Jack's got a lovely tale here. I met Bernard in 2019, and he was so kind and funny. Navigated the crowds in his wheelchair with a cheery beep beep coming through. That I can picture. Absolutely, absolutely. Simon is saying, I helped make Jackanory. We need to talk about that then, fella. We need to know more about that, Simon, because for me, it was a mainstay. I had to watch it every week, 4 days a week, Monday to Thursday. Absolutely loved it. I can still remember a lot. And I've actually got some of the books that I had to buy because the show inspired me to buy them, including things like The Magician's Nephew, some of the Roald Dahl ones. Oh, man. It's such a criminal offense. They got rid of that. I cannot believe it. Jack is also saying we should all be so lucky to live a long, full life like Bernard's. Timescales. Bernard's performances in Doctor Who clearly cemented the era in British cultural history. Oh, yes, but we're never going to see the like. And then Simon's also teasing me here saying, and Doctor Who, but not with Bernard. Yes, you and I need to have a chat, mister. We need to have a chat. Lovely to see you. Thank you for subbing and being with us. But yeah, we need to have a chat on that one. Goodness me. Yeah. So it was great to see him. It was great to, oh man, I mean, I'm just getting a little bit of a chill now. This gentleman, we cannot say how much we appreciate him, how much we love him, and how important he was to us, our entire generation and more, when you think about it, thanks to the children's show and thanks to Doctor Who. And it was absolutely correct that the episode, whatever we think about it, was for him.
Yeah.
And he was there at the peak. I have to say, if you look back at the whole of Doctor Who, Bernard Cribbins was a key part of when it was at its peak. The noble setup, that relationship with his granddaughter was fantastic. His relationship with the David Tennant Doctor and his acting anyway brought so much kind of cheek to the role and pathos. You know, he was there at the peak and you know, he was a key contributor to that.
I love
Simon
that.
and anyone else that might want to get in touch with me, by the way, here's the email address for the show. It's whosviews1@gmail.com. Do give me an email. We've got some great stuff lined up for the next year as well, including a new series that I'm working on now. So if you want to be involved in it, even though you don't know what it is yet, drop me an email. I'll give you a little surprise. Oh, brilliant. What were you saying, Paul?
I was going to say one of my favourite Wilf moments is the bit where he's on the hill with his telescope. And the Adipose spaceship goes behind him. And he's like looking the wrong way. Fantastic, brilliant stuff. Lovely.
Yeah, I mean, happy days, and from a performer that had it down pat.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kirsty.
That cafe scene could be studied. That's one of my. Oh, that's beautiful. How the Doctor says, "I would be proud if you were my dad." That scene is just. Shivers down the spine thing, chef's kiss.
And of course, the 4 knocks and when there have been the 2 cabinets.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, that was brilliant. Yeah.
They both played it so well, but David Tennant being so gutted that it was Wilf, and Wilf going, no, leave it. And of course, you know, when David Tennant's Doctor, you know, the Time Lord victorious, and he had to leave Donna behind and everything, and that little salute in the rain, the loyalty, it was a fantastic relationship, and he played it brilliantly. And yes, you could see the dynamic between the two.
You really could, and again, that's down to not just him being an approachable person. So I'm led to believe from people that met him and worked with him, but because he was a genuine talent, and he's going to be sorely missed. But thankfully, of course, at the moment we have all his films on DVD, and we've got some of his television shows on DVD. So let's buy them before they get rid of them all and replace it with some sort of.
Can I recommend a film to watch? If you've not seen it, Two-Way Stretch with. Peter Sellers and Bernard Cribbins and Irene Handel. It's a bit like Porridge, but it's a very good film. I recommend it.
There you go. There's Paul's recommendation for this week.
Yeah, there we are.
I have to mention for Bernard Cribbins.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, there's 2 adverts for Hornby where they shrunk him down in size and he was Hornby size. I love those adverts.
Oh, those adverts were fabulous, weren't they? Yeah. He was all-round entertainer, wasn't he? And he's going to be, as I say, he's going to be very well missed. But do you know what? We had him in Doctor Who twice. No, I'm not just talking. I'm talking once as a movie, and I'm talking once as a TV show. He was in both reiterations, and weren't we lucky? And weren't we lucky to grow up with him?
I'm working on Daleks Invasion 2150 AD, and I'm turning it into black and white if you're interested in funding it.
No. Right, so what we got coming up now? We're coming. Listen, if you are a fan of the Daleks films, please make sure you've subscribed, because we've got a treat coming for you next year, 2024. So stay with us for that. Got lots of plans for you. Okay, so now, where are we up to now? Oh, yes, I think it is time, don't you? I think it's time for the ratings game. Now, last week, as you hopefully will know, he says, getting his notes, the whole thing about the ratings game is very simply, we have to predict here, the Whotastic panel have to predict, and so do you in the chat, have to predict whether the following episode is going to be higher or lower in the ratings. It's simple as that. And the rating, the overnight, we always go by the overnight ratings on this show. partly because it's available when we're broadcasting, and partly because I don't believe the consolidated figure is ever going to be right when it comes to Doctor Who. Let me explain. As we have seen this week, Doctor Who fans can be quite obsessive, and a lot of them have gone back and watched the episode on iPlayer over and over and over and over and over and over, and you get the picture. So how on earth can that be a true representation of how many people are watching the episode? It certainly is not Joe Blogs Public. And I've seen certain fans on social media saying, I've already watched it 20-something times. That's 20-something extra views. So we're going to go by the overnights, because that's more of an indicator to me of how many people from Joe Blogs Public sat their asses down on the... Sorry, I hope that hasn't offended you. Sat their asses down at the time to watch it live. So that's what it's about. So it's higher or lower.
Problematic.
It is problematic. Yeah. Now, I want you to let you know that the overnight ratings were, and this is for the time slot or the bigger ones. Here we go here. Strictly Come Dancing got 7.8 million. I'm a Celebrity, Get Him Out of Me got 5.1 million. The Voice UK on the commercial channel, as they used to say in the old days, I used to love that, or on the commercial channel, the snobbishness of the BBC. It's now gone all the other way. The Voice UK got 2.6 million, and something called Survivor UK got 2.0 million, which is on the BBC. Doctor Who, as you probably know, got 4.83, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
Where's my banner? 4.83 million. There you go. And we've also got this. I'd like to say a huge thank you for this graphic. This has come from... oh gosh, you moved. This has come from Rich Jenkinson, and I liked it so much. This was on our Facebook page, and I liked it so much I nicked it. So thank you, Rich, for that graphic. It says it all for me. Really appreciate that. So 4.83 million was the overnights. Now, from the Whotastic panel themselves last week, we had Kirsty. She went with lower. Oh, God. Hang on a sec. Kirsty went with lower at 4.6. Ian went with lower at 4.8. Brendan also went with lower at 4.8. Michelle went lower with 4.5. Paul went lower with 3.5, and then I went lower with 3.1. So congratulations to Ian and Brendan from the Whotastic panel, both of whom will get a Who's Views pencil when they arrive. From those of you who were watching us last week, we had Scottish Davros. Daniel, he said lower with 3.4. Everybody was lower, by the way. So congratulations. You can all have a pencil one day. Garbage said lower, 3.6. Jack said lower with 3.5. Christian from the Legends of the Travelling TARDIS said lower with 3.7. Woodhouse 122, you said 4.08. Gary Bryant said 5.08. Richard Day said 4 million. Dead on 4 million. So well done, everybody. You were all right with lower. So give yourselves a round of applause.
Hooray! Thanks very much.
It's now
the
time.
Pencils in the post, then, is it?
The cues are all fond, everybody. Right, so listen, it's now time though for, I'm just checking all the chat, everybody in the chat and the Whotastic panel, it's now time for this week's edition of the ratings game. So many things to do on the show these days. I don't know what I've done for myself. Right, so here we go. This is the ratings game. All I'm asking for right now, of course, from the panel is whether they're going higher or lower for the next episode, which, in case you're not aware, is called The Giggle. So, we're going higher or lower. And I'm going to start with Paul. Are you going higher or lower?
I'm going to go higher because I think because Shooty's on the way, if you pardon the expression, he is going to be generating from Tennant to him. That'll give a bit of a boost. So do you want to get me in the number now? So probably
yes,
5.5 maybe.
Paul is going higher with 5.5. Time Muddler Brendan, are you going higher or lower?
I'm going higher, and I'm going to say 4.9.
4.9 and higher from Time Muddler Brendan. Kirsty, it is time now for you to say higher or lower?
Lower.
Lower?
Yes, lower with 3.8.
Kirsty is going lower with 3.8. Don't forget, in the chat, we will be coming to you shortly for your highers or lowers, which in my day were also exams. So, Dr. Ian, higher or lower for the Giggle?
I'm going to go higher because I think they're going to plug it to hell because they're getting a new doctor, a person of colour, and all the rest. So the BBC will just explode with excitement. So they will really plug it. So I think I will go higher and 5.2.
5.2 is indeed higher for third Doctor Ian. We now turn to the chat. Meddling Funk, lower with 4.1 million. Matt, 4.6 million. Woodhouse 122 is going higher. Hasn't given me a number, but he's going higher. Garbage is saying it will go up next week. It's a regeneration. If it doesn't go up, wow, maybe it's had too much to drink. Timescales is saying, I thought the next regeneration was on Christmas. No. Thank you, Crimpling to Bloom. We know. TARDIS Spider wants a pencil. Woodhouse 122 is saying 5.5 million overnight. Crimpling to Bloom is adding 5.1. Garbage is saying 5.2. The Thing King, 5.2. A lot of 5 points. Interesting. TARDIS Spider is going lower with 3.9. Isn't this the game that had dolly birds? Come on, JT, bring them on. I'm working on it right now. We'll probably get barred because dolly birds, of course, is problematic and always reminds me of a bird's trifle. Matt is saying 7.1 overnight. Are you mad? And Problem Being is saying 4.2.
And what about the Quizmaster himself?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
For myself, believe it or not, everybody, I'm going to go higher. And I'm going to say 4.9. Oh, well, that was fantastic, wasn't it? I don't know about you, but ooh, I feel good after that. Because that was...
I feel fulfilled.
I'm feeling incredibly fulfilled. And that reminds me I need to get new batteries. That was the ratings game. Woo! Right. So what we'll do is we'll compile all those, and next week we will see who was the winner of the ratings game this week. If making any sense. So yeah, if you are watching us on playback and you want to join in with the ratings game, put it into the comments box. Yeah, everything counts there. Or you can join us on our Facebook page, Whose Views, and you can put a comment in there as well. So yes, I have to say there's one thing I'm really looking forward to about next week, everybody, which might actually get me through.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd forgot about her. Yes.
I think everybody's forgotten that next week we do expect the legend that is Bonnie Langford to be in the show. So let's hear it for Bonnie next week, hopefully. Because, you know, we have seen that still. We covered it in the breakfast show a little while ago. We've seen a still where, what's his name? Neil Patrick, blah, blah, is running through what is, we know, the unit headquarters. And there is a young lady with red hair and that jacket on in the background. So we expect Bonnie to be in the Giggle. So hopefully everybody will like that. And, you know, why they wouldn't publicize that? Why they would, I mean, people will go and watch Bonnie. They'll watch Bonnie. I mean, she's got a huge following. And somebody mentioned that they expected the regeneration to actually be on Christmas Day. Well, it's not really likely because the trailer, of course, had this on it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go.
Again.
I bet he says that as well, yeah. I don't want to lose these teeth, he'll say, or something like that.
What's that?
He'll say, I don't want to lose these teeth, or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let us know. Yeah, round up. Let's see what you think his last words were going to be. But not only did it have this, but it had this. There he is, the incoming man himself into Doctor Who, the new alleged Doctor. Brendan, though, has heard some interesting rumours. But before we get to what Brendan's heard on the gossip front, Paul, you'll be interested in this.
Oh, lovely. Yes. Yes.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is on the left-hand side. The rumoured jukebox has arrived, everybody. The Doctor dances. I mean, how Lenny Henry can you get? I mean, come on. Scores on the TARDIS doors, so stay with us. That's out of 10 as well. Your scores for the episode Wild Blue Yonder. But Brendan, you were messaging me in the week with one of these rumours you've heard about. So actually what we're going to do is we're just going to go over to Brendan in a second after I've played a graphic when I find it. Here we go. So what's the bit of gossip you heard from the fan base, apart from the ones we talked about earlier, Brendan?
Is this the one we're talking about, the split regeneration one?
Yes,
and the fact
yes. Let's get it out of the way now, shall we?
The 14th Doctor is rumoured to suddenly want to have a bit of a family life and stay behind with Donna, and it seems to have been set up a bit like that because that's what the dialogue's been leading to. And so he kind of gets retired and the TARDIS is taken, you know, so the two stood by each other. They both regenerate, having both defeated apparently the Toymaker. He thinks that's not fair. Anyway, the deal is the 14th Doctor stays and has some, you know, family time and gets to learn more about the pronoun debate, while the 15th Doctor, who we now say they, goes in their TARDIS and carries on. That's kind of what's doing the rounds in fandom, isn't it, fans? Because I think we've all seen versions of this, haven't we?
So does that mean there are two TARDISes or just one?
One.
I know, I thought that, but it looks as though I think he leaves the TARDIS, David Tennant. It sounds like to me, just.
Right.
There's so much going on, isn't there? Because the other thing I was hearing about, and I had to chuckle about the other day, is that Rose Noble comes back and imparts some of the regeneration energy she has inherited to I give over.
Beauty, that's what I heard. But anyway,
well, the brilliant thing about that is if that actually happens,
awful anyway, but
if that actually happens, you can actually write off anything at all because actually it is in. Oh, hang on. Let me get my notepad again. It is in the new SFX magazine, he says, going back to that, with the Russell T. Davies interview. There is an element here where SFX says to Davies, tease the Christmas episode, ... dot dot, and he responds, it's completely a reinvention of the show, brand new, but not a reboot. It's the same old show, but everything starts again, everything's seen through the eyes of Ruby Sunday, and it's that lovely feeling of here we go, a new era beginning. It's lovely, kind of goes into territory we've never touched before. In many ways, that's more, it's fresher than special. I seem to have heard him say that before somewhere.
Yeah, it was just me that they were a photograph of one of the monsters in it, the goblin. And it looks like to me that the meep has been shaved. Is that right?
Well, let's start that rumor. Let's start that.
We heard it here.
That would be good now. Yeah, I want to say good night, Simon, who left us because he didn't want spoilers. We just have to say it is all gossip, and it's gossip from the fans. So look how that worked out for Wild Blue Yonder. So Garbage is saying, so 10B goes with Rose in 2007. This 14 goes with Donna. I have no idea. He's also saying Rose will definitely be connected. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So RTD can bring Tennant back at any point in the future. It makes sense. 3 Tennant specials per year alongside the regular series. Crumbling doubloon. It sounds like Russell leaving the door open for more Tennant and Tate specials. Hopefully nothing more. We're going to be coming back to this next week as well. And Crimpling is also saying never shave your meep. I certainly
quite right.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll do it when you're sober, at least, anyway. So.
Yeah, alien rights and all that as well. Simon Anthony, yes, because we're not going to gossip anymore. So turn your sound back on. Absolutely, absolutely. So that's going to be interesting, isn't it? But don't lose sleep over any of this, because we'll be here next week to review the Giggle. But for this moment in time now, it's time for this. Yes, it's tried and trusted scores on the TARDIS doors. But before we get to that, as you in the chat are making your minds up, out of 10, how many points are you going to give scores on the TARDIS doors for Wild Blue Yonder? And while the panel have a quick think about that, have you seen that Ncuti Gatwa has been seen again on set this week? Here he is. Can you see him? No? Okay, let's zoom in. Ta-da! There he is on set in yet another costume. Now, this costume sort of reminds me of something that the original Doctors would have worn. In a sense, apart from the silly looking hat, but I suppose that's just because it's not lit up properly for this. But that's it there. That's Ncuti filming God knows whichever series they're on to right now. On set this week in a lovely, 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 lovely coat.
I'm hoping the hat is just there because he's on location and it's cold, and when he does a take, he'll take it off. But I'm not convinced.
No,
I'm not convinced either.
Yeah.
No, me neither.
He's wearing his trainers from his first episode, though, as you can now see from some of the stills that are coming out, sort of sporty train. It looks like he's wearing jeans. But yes, and also that is also addressed in the new SFX magazine, where Russell said it was his decision that he wanted different outfits because for years and years and years, people were saying he must be a very smelly man, or why does he always wear the same outfit? So he thought he would just change it. And there you go. I'm sure.
I thought he was a bloody Doctor Who fan, for goodness sake. You never watched any of Pertwee, for God's sake. Ian, get in there now.
Yeah.
Does that mean Russell Davies
was always changing his clothes?
Yeah.
Pertwee was, Tom Baker did, Sarah Jane did. It was only when it was JNT and the marketing thing.
God bless him.
Always in the same damned outfit, always question
never
marks.
Worked. The timescales are saying one episode next year will visit the Irish potato famine of 1845 to 52. Garbage is reiterating it's gossip. It's not confirmed. Absolutely. No wonder the Meep was angry. This week was meant to have Master 11 and 12 Doctors. Look how that turned out. Absolutely. Okay, then. So we're now going to go for scores on the TARDIS doors. Thank you for putting your scores in there. I'm going to start with Kirsty. Your score on the TARDIS door for Wild Blue Yonder, please. 4. Okay, lovely. All right. Ian, third Doctor.
2. That was for Bernard Cribbins.
Woo! Get him. 2 for Bernard Cribbins. Fantastic. We're going to go now to Time Muddler Brendan. Your score on the TARDIS door out of 10, please.
5. I still think that they missed a trick with the Donna ending because I found that tense. I thought they were going to kill a companion off, and he booked it. He missed it.
Yeah.
Okay, and Paul?
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was going to be like an Adric moment at the end there, but no. Yeah, I've watched it twice. First time I wasn't so sure. Second time I enjoyed it more. I'm going to give it a 5 as well.
Okay. For myself, out of 10, scores on the TARDIS door, I still think it was a missed opportunity. I think they could have done more with it. It didn't hit with me. I'm going to give it a 5, which is 1 up on the Star Beast, and just simply because it wasn't as bad as the Star Beast, but it's a shame they didn't realize the full potential. I thought for a minute I was going to get scared, but what scares me more are the rumors around the show and that feeling I have of watching the show thinking, what's the next line going to do? And is it going to upset me? And is it going to mean I'm going to switch the thing off? Over to the chat now. So thank you very much. Crimpline Doubloon is giving it 5 out of 10. Woodhouse122 is going to be generous, giving it 5 out of 10. Timescales, Wild Blue Yonder is 8.8 out of 10 of 78 ratings and reviews on the timescales. Got to side with that. Okay, fair enough. Matt532 is saying 6 out of 10. It was an average mid-season episode and it wasn't special. I think we all agree on that one, don't we, guys? Garbage, looks like review time. I gave the last one 3. This one is a 4. Know exactly what you're doing. Timescales is also saying it was scary when the TARDIS left. I sort of understand what you're getting there, but you know, that whole thing about the TARDIS leaving because hostile action and all that, it was just thrown in as a continuity reference, wasn't it? Because was there really hostile action there? It wasn't quite a
well, even if there was, but it came back at the end, it was still hostile action, wasn't it? Didn't make any sense.
Even more so.
Yeah.
All that nonsense about Wild Blue Yonder being a war chant, and I wasn't really sure about where that went. The war cry element, you know, it was so heavily played in the dialogue, and I thought, well, war build up to what? I mean, it was just a countdown to a blowing up.
Yeah, we've got Simon here saying, I've not managed to watch it all in one go so far, so judgment reserved. Fine, let us know in the comments, mate. Put it in the comments there, and I will put your score into it. So listen, that was Wild Blue Yonder. That was the second of the alleged 60th anniversary specials. Not so special. Now what we do panel is we have to get through to the next one, and that's where we're coming in again. Yes, because next on Whose Views Reviews, of course, is part 3 of these 3 alleged anniversary specials. The one that I think most of us are looking forward to. This is the long-awaited televisual rematch between the Doctor and the Celestial Toymaker. Now, why? Oh, why? Oh, why? If this is going to have Catherine Tate in it, if it's going to have Bonnie in it, if it's going to have the return of the Toymaker, why am I feeling anxious over this?
Because it'd be rushed.
Yeah.
It's ballsed everything else up, so, you know, maybe he's going for a full house.
It does look spectacular. We've got the return of Unit. We do have the return of the Noble family. We do have the return of the Toymaker. But for some reason, even though I laugh at a lot of these fan rumors, sometimes rumors can be based in truth. Yeah. We will be back next Sunday on the channel with our views and opinions. And we want you here with us as well to tell us what you thought of part 3 of this trilogy of 60th anniversary specials. My goodness, it's going to be interesting. We will have next week the Wokest Link and the Wokometer. We will have the ratings game. We will have scores on the TARDIS stores and any particular gossip that comes up. But we want you here with us with your views and opinions. All are welcome on this channel. If you haven't liked, please like. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And stay with us as we get through the Giggle. I hope we get through the Giggle. And then it's on the way to the church on Ruby Road. Oh, my goodness me.
Well, let's hopefully get through the Giggle laughing, not crying. That'll be
I want to be ecstatic next week.
Yeah,
I want to be delighted. I want to be giving the thing an 8 or 9 or even a 10 out of 10 for scores on the TARDIS store. I want the Wokometer to stop at 1. I don't think it's going to. Do you, everybody? Thank you so much to the Whotastic panel for joining me and putting yourself through Doctor Who yesterday and watching it and then putting yourself through the nonsense that I've come up with for this show. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. The Whotastic panel, say thank you to everybody. We've had a lot of people watching us this evening, so thank you very much. Let's see who's in the channel and who we can say goodbye to. Thank you. Matt wants to say, can we go back 10 years? My Uncle Sydney is currently trying to build a time machine right now. He's currently looking at sticky back plastic. So let's see what he can do with that. Timescales is saying, yes, see you next Sunday. Yes, please, because we want everybody here. And you know what the show's about now. So let's get your scores ready. That when you're watching it, think about what can I put down as the scores. Simon is saying here, did they say what the heck the baddies were at all? That's a good point. Did they? I don't know who they were. Who were they? Answers on a postcard to BBC Television, London W12 HQT. Let's see who picks it up there. Thanks. Oh, thanks. I'm off again. Spoilers. Matt is saying, see you next week. Yes, please. TTFN, Simon, when's the next one? We'll be live again. Actually, we've got a special show coming up in the week where we're going to be celebrating 60 years of the Daleks. So make sure you join us for all that, everybody. And we'll be back with Who's Views Reviews next Sunday at 7. Timescale is saying, great show, everyone. Thanks for a fun morning. Tatty bye, everybody. Tatty bye. I love that. Oh, bless him. There's another line gone. Woodhouse 122. Good night. Yes. Simon saying Sunday at 7. No, 1900 DMT. 1900. Kirsty's also saying good night to everybody there. So yes, that's enough of all that. Thank you very much for everybody that's joined us tonight. Who-tastic panel, say good night to everybody there.
Good night, everybody.
And we shall see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.